It does look like we are live on the thing. Cool.
Uh,
Currently,
hey, look, you just popped up.
uh, yeah. So right now, this is the oddest setup because it's temporary because we're moving, and I think might be ready to move next week. I just gotta. I'm on the piddly stuff, but my 60-inch television set is my secondary monitor hooked to the HDMI port. And because
Mhm.
my 19-inch old TV that has been my secondary monitor off of my laptop doesn't want to play well with a HDMI splitter,
Uh-huh.
I got a 19-inch television set and then a 60-inch television set currently set up as my monitors. So
Yeah.
I have to lean back and look around the tower to look at the second screen for now.
So glad when I can get my upstairs on my shop finished because I'm going to have 4 computer monitors set up.
Nice.
That's the dream. I mean, for me, ultimately, setup, I would be fine with 3. Um, and especially for streaming, like gaming and stuff like that. Have the 2 in front to do the actual thing. Yeah, the one for whatever stream program I'm using, one for the actual game that I'm playing, and then a third one turned vertically to essentially for chat. Because
Nice.
that just makes life a whole lot easier when you're in a situation where you're interacting with chat to have it right there off to the side, have a monitor turned vertically so that you can have chat fill the whole thing. That way, it's easy to read and it's right there in your face and you can see it.
I wouldn't mind setting up a third monitor, but that'll be once I get to the new house and figure that out. It's the main reason I want the secondary monitor, and it's the secondary monitor is going to stay this big TV because it's going in the den when we move. Is also so I can throw maps up and different things for D&D games, like in person. So, uh, yeah, for everybody that's tuning in, this is just a random kind of mental health welfare checkup of a round table. Hopefully, some other folks jump in. If they don't, it's cool. We might, if they don't, I guess we'll count this as our. Now, y'all still want to do something Sunday? I'm always down to just sit and talk to friends, especially because I have been a ghost for over a month now.
Yeah.
I should be good. It'll give me a break because I'm going to be working my tail off this weekend.
My next couple days are going to be fairly busy. I won't get to work on the house Saturday because Emily's at work all day and Vincent's here. And well, I could probably take him over there and just give. We got internet over there now, so I could probably put him on an iPad or get him to do his reading eggs or math seeds while I do some stuff. Because the only problem is that most of what I got to do left is either drywall or paint, which is not a. He's not conducive to painting because he wants to touch everything you tell him don't touch.
What do you have left to paint?
I need to finish drywalling the 2 bathrooms. I had to go back and buy the right thickness of drywall from Home Depot today. Then I got to paint both of them. I got to drywall and paint the washroom, and then I got to do some. I mean, I'll get most of it done probably tomorrow, since I'm going to get there early, and I'll be there till about 5 because at 6 I am painting minis with Nate, Chris, and possibly Devin, because Nate and Chris got Devin into Warhammer.
Oh, yay! They're spreading the disease.
Yeah, Devin's like, I'm gonna get married, and they're like, hey, you know what you need right now while you're saving up for a wedding? An expensive ass hobby called Warhammer.
I mean, And it could be worse. They are playing Age of Sigmar,
Yeah, to be
so
fair,
it is. They are playing the skirmish game, so which is not nearly as bad as full on 40K. That will, I mean, they're you need 500-point armies instead of 7,000-point armies. So
yeah, I found out some of this because I've been buying some Age of Sigmar minis to use for D&D and to use for the upcoming live game, the steampunk game that hopefully folks will sign up for soon. So yeah, like getting 4 or 3 Stormcast Eternals, like $15.
yeah,
Looking for 3 to 4 Space Marines, one doesn't happen. Either you get a single Space Marine, or you get 40 of them, and you're spending $50. And I'm like, if I'm gonna do that, if I buy this just for this one game, I'm instantly now a Warhammer player because I've bought a whole damn army.
Well, I mean, it's simple. You can either find one, or you can find 40, and they cost $1,000. That's why it's called Warhammer 40K.
This is true.
Because
it is not cheap.
That shit is expensive.
Like I got convinced to buy a Techno Priest because they look cool. That was fucking expensive. I don't want to buy another one.
That's why I really liked that for the 6 months that I was kind of digging into and buying War Machines, War Machine and Hordes. Like seriously, for the steampunk game, look into War Machine, dude.
It's like 4 minis that would be perfect, or $38.
Because I mean, what I ended up with a very, I've never played, ended up with a very small army, and I got 2 war jacks. I got one of the starter boxes, so I got 2 war jacks, a commander, and that's pretty much it out of that box. And then I bought a second commander and a unit of riflemen and a special unit called old Joseph Grigorovich, who is essentially in that game. He's kind of like a bard. His thing is inspiring speeches, and those speeches and when he uses those abilities, it buffs you the rest of your. You do like more to hit or more damage or whatever, or other things that like you'll ignore rough terrain or stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But
Did we just lose Kyle?
Yeah, for a second.
Yep. We lost Kyle for a second. Are you back, Kyle? Don't believe so. Yep. But along the line of what Kyle's saying, Warhammer seems cool, or War Machine seems cool. It's also just kind of expensive. And I don't know. I don't have money for that. And I also don't have my 3D printer right now.
Yeah.
I never really got into the minis for D&D. I always just picture it in my head.
That's how I am with it, or was with it for a while. And then I started making the investment of... Oh, hold on. You going to bed?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, tell everybody good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, buddy.
Sleep tight. Okay. I got soup. Go to bed.
You don't like soup.
We're trying to get him back in the schedule for school. Emily's yelling, why is there soup? We're trying to get him back in the schedule for school because he stayed with my parents this last week. And yeah, we got to undo some things.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. We with us, the girl for her normal school bedtime is 8:30. Her summer bedtime is 9, so it's not too much of a transition. It's just kind of weird telling her to get ready for bed when it's still friggin' daylight outside.
Every time I think about that, I think of an old Simpsons episode where Bart had to live with the Flanders, and like they got put to bed at 7:30, so he's looking out the window, and everybody's like outside sunbathing and playing, and
Uh huh.
Ned just pulls the blinds down.
Uh,
I remember a trip. We were in New Brunswick, Canada, up around what's the name of that place? Fundy Bay, with the army, and 10:30 at night, and it's still daylight.
Shit, when I was in when I went to Alaska and I was in Nikiski, you got used to the sun being up all the time. But I got to see and I probably mentioned this when we were doing stuff back during lockdown. One of the weirdest damn things I've ever seen is the sun setting and rising at the same time. Because I got up to pee at like 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm watching the sun go down on one horizon and the sun start to come up on the other horizon. I'm like, this is weird. Also, the fact that Alaska has mosquitoes the size of a quarter.
so does Bunkie, Louisiana.
I mean, the thing is like everybody else that was up there for that mission trip was like from like northern Texas or like Ohio, and they're saying these things are driving us crazy. I'm like, whatever. Well, they're not biting you. It's like, yeah, because
Yeah.
I eat enough onion and garlic to kill anything. So the little vampires leave me alone.
They're not biting you. That's because they got the memo. I have been claimed by the mosquitoes of the South. They will come up here.
You do not want to deal. You don't want to deal with the state bird of Louisiana.
Mosquitoes in Bunkie, Louisiana have been known to abduct small children in the night.
See, now we have to create something for somewhere in one of our D&D games where you're literally just dealing with dire mosquitoes.
Hey, so like a standard like Saturday night hanging out on the porch. Got it.
Yeah, Louisiana just has sturges, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly think I actually think whoever created the sturge had to have been from Louisiana or mid Texas, mid East Texas.
Oh no, Southern Mississippi's got them too.
Yeah. The Marsh Gulf Coast is yeah.
The worst I've ever been bit up by mosquitoes was at a mud con, and I think that was the one you and Mish came to, and part of my face was swollen because I got bit by so many.
Yeah. I will take whatever. I'm just waiting. I got 3 weeks. I think I got 3 weeks to go until it's time for vacation. And I've never looked more forward to a week not doing what I do every day. And quite a while.
Where are y'all going?
Orange Beach, Alabama. I'll spend a week drunk at the beach.
I've told Emily I'm ready to enjoy my house instead of my house being a project. Which, I mean, I know it's always going to be a project, but
Yeah, but once you're done with it, then it's small. I want to do projects instead of large. I have to do projects, which is a very important distinction.
like after housewarming party, I told Emily I want a week where I'm allowed to veg and do nothing because, with the exception of the kitchen, which Emily and Kim did most of. Which have y'all seen those pictures?
I have. It looks really good.
Yeah, I saw.
With the exception of the kitchen, I've done absolutely everything else in the house but that and the floor. Because one reason my electrician didn't charge me for a lot of stuff is I actually wanted to learn how to do it, and he offered me a job to come on as an apprentice during the summers if I want it after working with him, because most of the time his clients told him, yeah, just fix it and whatever. I'm sitting there wanting to actually know how it works because, I don't want to flip one random switch in my house and a fire start because that's happened in this house. That's the reason why the death switch in the hallway is covered up. But Also, the fact that if there was something he needed help with, he didn't have anyone else with him, so I did it. So he and I spent just about the exact same amount of time in my attic running wire. So I got money knocked off, and then lights in the hallway, set up for the electrical for the shed. Like, I just have to run the wire to it. Plus, he's going to help me fix the 5 wires that go to the shed that, for some reason, are tied into bedrooms. Like Vincent's room and the far side of the shed's lights are on the same breaker. So if I shut that breaker off, I shut off Vincent's room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking
Very,
weird.
very piecemeal. I mean, that's the way they used to do it back in the day.
So we're going to eventually cut all those lines to the shed and just cap them or tie them back off so the circuit's still complete, just doesn't go to the shed, and then I'm just going to rewire the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, legitimately, my entire my entire bathroom is literally wire nutted together. Like, there is a line that goes down that runs my switch and my receptacle, and also a line that comes up that splits off that runs the ceiling light and the vanity light. Those 3 are just wire nutted into another line.
Yep, that's kind of how my attic is. I will say this: the spine of my house versus the floor of my attic is enough for me to actually stand up and only be bent over at the waist instead of having to crawl through it like my current attic.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing.
that was useful. I also did find a wire that was supposed to be in a junction box but wasn't, the hard way.
Ah, yeah.
Just all of a sudden, Emily and the electrician, Mr. BJ, down in the bathroom, here, son of a fuck, being yelled from the attic, and they go, "What happened?" I found 110 real quick.
Yeah, 110 boogie, baby.
So that got fixed and put back into the junction box. But yeah, so big thing is once I have moved in, once there's the housewarming party and the thank you to everybody that helps me move, there's going to be a leave me alone for like a solid week so that I have at least a week before I go back to teaching, because I go back the first week of August now. Because we have new COVID guidelines to follow for the following school year.
Oh, good. More fuckery.
Well, a lot of the old ones are still there, but now that there's the Delta Plus variant in the state, and 2 cases apparently have been found, one in New Orleans and one in good old Monroe, Louisiana. So we're going to have additional guidelines for just a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's going to say, keep doing the exact same thing you were doing last year. But yeah, it's good to be almost done with the house though right now.
Yeah, I'm glad. And finally get into your place and have it your way and be able to paint a wall purple if you want.
Yeah, you're gonna have a little, I call it sticker shock, when you get out on your own in your own place. It's gonna be a little bit of sticker shock till you get used to it, but you're gonna enjoy it.
There's been a little, oh god, everything's so damn expensive, but it's not that it's really expensive. It's just I've had to do like a large number of $50 purchases.
Mm-hmm.
If I had known about it all at once and had like one big $300 purchase, I'd be like, okay, not a problem. But it's like, damn, I've had to go back and buy $50 of shit every time. So, but the house looks good. Emily's happy. We looked at sofas today. So,
Nice.
Vincent almost got us kicked out of the furniture store.
As the prophecy has foretold.
Yeah, it's like, Vincent, you're not supposed to roll across that. What does Vincent do? Takes a running leap and then rolls across all the Tempur-Pedic mattresses that are next to each other.
Hey, I mean, if size wasn't a thing, you'd have done it. You want to know how I know? Because I'd have done it.
See, if you or I do it, Kyle, that there's a good chance there is a wall or a bed that is not going to be in the position it was in earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why I put the size disclaimer on in the beginning of that statement.
This is true. There's a lot of things he can get away with because he's like a 50-pound kid, and it's like I'm a 207 or 278-pound man. If I do that, I'm going to tear something up, and that is simply just physics and math.
I mean, that's still not fair. I mean, a kid drinks a bottle and passes out in Walmart, and it's cute. I do it, and I'm an alcoholic. It's just fucking. It's not fair.
That's because you took the bottle off the shelf.
Well, yeah, it was just there.
I mean, if they leave the giant can of Miller High Life, the champagne of beers, where I can get it, and then have sample mattresses, this is not my fault.
I mean, not at all. I mean, the first time the kid takes a crap in a toilet, it's a way to it's something to celebrate. But I do it, and I get thrown out of Home Depot. I mean, it's just unfair.
See, that joke's good, but Home Depot has like outsmarted all of us, and they just put plexiglass over the open toilets now, or make it to where you got to work for it because it's 12 feet up in the air at a 45-degree angle. So
You misjudge my willingness and need to take a shit.
I'm just saying that they put it on level 3. So
I mean,
if you pull it off, I think it might be more on them because
all that means is that I am now king of the mountain. You see, if I shit in a display toilet at Home Depot on the floor, then I've just shit in a Home Depot display toilet. If I shit in a Home Depot display toilet that's 30 feet in the air, that's an accomplishment.
even, as you're getting arrested, the cops even have to go, "Good job."
I mean, I know.
Speaking of Home Depot, Emily's still a little salty about the whole refrigerator incident because they sold the floor model to somebody else.
Oh, I'm surprised that she hasn't. That she doesn't have that. Whoever sold its guts for garters at this point.
Yeah, it's
Gone like 2 days later.
yeah, Emily's it's gone 2 days later. It's like just we come back, it's gone. It's like, well, we sold the floor model.
Pretty sure it echoed.
Yeah, Emily was quite upset. Along the same lines, I've been told that I am a man of simple entertainment because the new blinds we bought are the ones that you just have to lift up and they'll close and stay closed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's almost witchcraft to me. I mean, I know there's like a tension retraction system in there. I know there's something that is very explainable. But you also have a tiny version of it for me to play with in the middle of Home Depot.
Uh-huh.
So I'm
Yeah,
gonna do that.
Yeah, my mom and dad's French doors, which is what we use for the main door. Yeah, they have that, and yeah, I I may or may not have spent the first like half hour after they were installed just raising and closing and raising and closing and raising and closing.
Also, I gotta give my child another bit of applaud. Is I take my eyes off him for 3 seconds while looking at doors, and somehow he has trapped himself between 2 doors.
Nice.
And I'm looking at him. He's like, "Hi, Daddy, help." I'm like, "Good, you're calm at least." But how the fuck did you do this?
Don't know. Help.
He just looks at me and I'm like, "Yeah, you're mine. I don't even need to ask these questions. This shit just happens."
So what happened was,
Or being in the middle of Walmart, or not Walmart, but being in the middle of Home Depot, getting insulation to wrap around a pipe, and then my child tucking the giant foam noodle between his legs, and then just flailing it saying, "Look, I'm peeing."
There's some people. Great comedy has to be taught, and there's some it's just fucking natural.
But yeah, I mean, if anything I have to talk about for the last freaking month has just been me at the house. Kim and Emily made me take a break while I had a sinus infection, and so yeah, I was doped up on cough syrup watching Jeremy Clarkson's The Farm, which is, if y'all haven't watched that, go watch it. It's actually pretty good. Because apparently Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear bought a 1,000-acre farm in the Cotswolds of England and has had someone managing it for him, and then the manager retired, so he decided he'd run his own farm. And at first you think he's going to make fun of like farmers and stuff. No, he actually shows how damn hard it is to farm.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm in an area with a lot of agriculture, but I haven't really been a part of it. I just knew it was hard and expensive to actually be a farmer. But the show shows exactly all the costs for him just to run a farm for one season.
Farmers know better how to manage money than most people in the bank.
Yeah, because the thing with farmers is there's a lot of money. There is not a lot of cash. Is the big thing I'm understanding with farming is there's a whole lot of money value. There is not a lot of hard cash being exchanged on a lot of it.
Yeah, and a lot of it is speculation. Like whatever you do, whatever your farm is, it's based off of the estimate of what your production yield is going to net you, and that's what you hedge your bets against.
Pretty much. I mean, it's I know from gardening. Gardening is not cheap if you don't do it right. But
Yeah,
just like when I start talking to my dad, who works for a storage silo company, just the amount of money they talk about, and it's like technically you could argue that several farmers are millionaires, but it's not like drive a Bentley, wear the finest clothes type millionaire. It is, I own a piece of equipment that's $500,000, and if that thing breaks, I don't get to harvest this year.
yeah. I have a machine worth $500,000. When this crop comes in, I'll be able to pay for it cash. I'll be able to pay it out cash. If it breaks, then I can't pay for this thing. Like the Ashton Kutcher show, The Ranch, has a lot of that as the backbone of the story with Bo, his dad, Sam Elliott's character. There's a lot of that based off speculating off of what's going to happen, and then shit happens, and there's, I think season two start one of the lines through lines in season 2 is that insemination went poorly, and that caused a big ruckus because that's next year's cows.
Yeah, that is a great show, and like just a little thing that you don't even stop and think about could make or break an entire harvest or selling of animals.
Yeah.
So, like something as small as, oh, beef sales went down because people were more health conscious this year, so now the price of your cows dropped, $15 a pound. And there's not a fucking thing you can do about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what Cannon said, there's a lot of, with farmers knowing how to deal with money better than a banker, is the amount of math needed for farming, or even just any blue collar job, is astronomical because like dealing with the electrician sitting there trying to doing legitimate physical math, which is something I'm not super good at. I can do algebra and theoretical stuff, but geometry was never my strong suit. And he's busting out that stuff without even thinking about it. And he's like, and people tell me I'm stupid. It's like, hell no, you're not.
Well, I mean, and that's the other thing. Algebra is theoretical. Geometry is practical. And knowing that, having to deal with it on a regular basis, and it's not even so much having to deal with it on a regular basis. It will make you understand it. Like there are plenty of people who can do high level geometry. They can't explain it to you, but they know that if I cut this piece at a 45, what I need this piece 3 pieces later, the angle I need on this piece 3 pieces later, and can hand draw it. For you have a tapered slope. All right, I need to cut this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. They've done hardcore geometry on the fly. They can't explain it to you, but they know that I need to cut here, here, here for this to work this way.
Just like on my barn roof, I got to cut 4 30-degree angles and 4 15-degree angles in order to equal 180 degrees to get a half circle.
Yep.
And that's math that a lot of people don't even stop and think about. And I mean, like when the floor guys came and put in my floor, they very rarely measured anything. Like there's a few things they did, like door jambs, but like they could see where like a bump out in my house was, and be like, all right, I know exactly what to do. And they cut it, and I'm like, I would have had to measure that at least twice. He goes, yeah, it's that's going to be about a 30-degree angle right there. And I was like, you sure? He goes, yeah, I've seen enough of them. And sure as shit was this old guy right. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that was doing cable, running lines on the outside. I stepped it off. You step it off in a straight line, and then you look at obstacles, and then you add line for like curves and things of that nature. And I can't and just I don't know the math, but I know it was the right size. So, am I still there?
You're still here.
Okay, good.
I wasn't saying anything because I was yawning. I'm not going to miss the jackass that has a homemade 4-wheeler down the street, revving up and down the road.
Yeah. I have been existing and just working on projects. I was off Monday. I spent the first bit drank my coffee and hung out around the house doing piddling around the house till about noon, and Mish came home for lunch, and she took the girl to gymnastics because during the summer Harley is now on the gymnastics team at her gym. So during the summer it's 1 to 4 Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So Mish brought her to gymnastics. I finished the laundry, and then I went to my folks' house, and I went and kicked the fan on in the shop and broke out the table saw and started dinking around with stuff. I got some projects that I got in my head that I want to put into wood. And the first thing I made was one of the things it's a shelf. It's a round piece of plywood. It's got 3 shelves on it, and then on the front of mounted to the front of the shelves is a crescent moon. And she's like, "That's really nice. I want you to make me one of those. It's like, okay, cool. She's always on the lookout for projects like that for me to do. So I started thinking, and I was like, well, and then I started running my head around it, and I was like, well, I mean, I can change a couple of things, maybe do something a little bit different, and I could potentially make these things and maybe sell a few of them. Well, if that's the case, then I'm gonna need to cut out a lot of circles. In order to cut out circles, you got to mark circles. So I just kind of roughed out a compass jig that has put a screw through it to have a pivot, to have a good pivot point, and glued a piece of wood on top of that to have something to hold on to, and then drilled holes every inch. So I now essentially have a jig that can make 2-inch to 18-inch circles. And
Router?
I do. I don't trust myself with it. The issue that I have with the router currently. Huh?
Take that same jig concept. Take the same jig concept. Screw it down in the center where you want your circle, and you mount a base that your router will fit into on the other end of it with a straight cut bit, and you can make perfect circles.
It's really cool to do it.
Yeah, and that is an option for a later time. Simply because I don't have a straight cut bit currently. We only have one bit, and it's a dig out bit. It's a chamfer bit. Just to chamfer out sections, like make data, shit like that. And the router that we have is, it's temperamental. When you set your height, and you lock it down using the nut and the brace bar to lock it into place. It will work for about for typically 1/2 to 3/4 of what you're doing before it starts to travel. And by travel, I mean the router itself will start to drop, and you'll get, and it's a so. I think my second, not the next tool that I buy, but the tool after that is going to be a new router. This was an old hand-me-down.
Do y'all use the Ryobi Plus batteries?
I believe so.
$60.
I think it's
$60 is the Ryobi Palm router that runs off of that same battery pack. It's not the best, but
it'll do what I need it to do.
But it'll do what you need to do, and it's in that price range that if you really like it, you can then save up and get a much better palm router.
Yeah.
Like I'm very happy with the Bosch palm router that I have. I use it more because the Craftsman one I got was mostly shit. But this podcast not brought to you by Craftsman.
But the next thing that I buy, the next tool that I buy is going to be it's probably going to be a belt sander. It's a little 1x40 belt sander. Because of the conversation that you and I, Hewitt, had a couple of weeks ago about the table saw not being straight, and that there's because it's a job site saw, so it's not going to cut a straight line on fine cutting. You're always going to have that angle. You're always going to cut trapezoids. So the next thing I want to buy, because there's a lot of smaller things a lot of kind of smaller hand size things that I want to make, that I really want flat and flush. So cut them an 1/8 inch an 1/8 inch wider and wider than I need, and then use the belt sander to get them flat, kind of things. And then I just need a whole lot. I need a whole lot of practice on. We have an electric plane, and I just need practice on that.
I've been using my electric hand planer
Uh-huh.
a lot recently. The most recent is my bathroom door is an asshole, and I had
Uh-huh.
to shave the door down for it to fit in the jamb, because long ago in the before times, water used to run through the pipes for water used to run through my slab, and then they busted, so now they run through the attic. So when that happened, there was some damage, and a lot of stuff was fixed. The door to the bathroom was quote unquote fixed because there was a door that could go to the bathroom, but it's one of those that you'd have to put your, for lack of a better term, put your whole ass behind to close.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I decided that ain't happening. So I planed the door down a little bit. I gotta take my spade bit and drill a couple holes a little bit deeper. So now that the mechanism fits in it still, but that's been pushed off until I'm actually working on the bathroom, because that whenever I start working on one of the bathrooms, that's going to be that whole day, and
Yeah.
I need to be left alone.
And so Monday, I built that circle jig, and then I took a fence board that I had back from last year that I used to make my raised bed, and it's a super rough cut board. And then I planed it down. I hand planed it down, which ended up working out really, really well. I'm actually really happy with how the restoration on that hand plane that I did came out. I still need to sharpen it a bit. I still need to sharpen it a bit more, but it worked. And I got that super smooth, and then cut it in half, and then cut a 45, and cut two 45s in it, and made an L, and that's going to end up being my chisel. I'm making a chisel rack out of that. Now the only thing I have left to do is drill my holes and cut my notches so that I can set them in there, and then I can hang my chisels where I can get to them. And then once I got that glued up and off to the side setting, I had an old 2x4. I just kind of started cutting into 1/4 inch pieces and cut down, and I now have stock to make dice boxes for. So, and what I have is currently it's about an inch deep and 10x5. And I have the edges lapped on the two side pieces so that they fit inside, and then I lap the entire bottom so that the MDF that I use for the bottom actually sits flush on the bottom. And that was the last thing that I did before I left. And I actually went over there to pick up the girl today, and kind of took a look at it, and I got a little bit of sanding, a little bit of rough cutting that I need to do to make sure that everything's flush, but it turned out all right. And I think I worked a lot of the kinks out of using the table saw to cut those chamfers and those dados along the edge to inset things. And I think the next thing I'm going to do, if I can manage it, is I'm going to try to inset the floor in. So instead of just dadoing out the bottom edge so that it sits flush, having one that's a little bit bigger than an inch, probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then cutting a groove around all four pieces that the bottom slots into, and see how that works. Especially now that I got I think I'm kind of working all the kinks out of the table saw, considering the fact that I've never really used one for super extensive amount of time. As a matter of fact, I've never used one before messing around with the one we got now. So I think I got most of the kinks worked out of it. Especially when I had the epiphany that I can move the fence to the other side of the blade, which is nice because now I don't have to reach over the blade to hold to hold things or to grab things. And now it's on, and now the fence is on the other side of the blade. Now I'm working safer. I mean, I was always working safe because I'm not an idiot. Well, I mean, don't ask my wife; she may disagree with that, and she can't tell me how to live my life as long as she's not listening. But realizing that hey, why is there a measure? Oh, I can move the fence to the other side and actually be free to do what I need to do. And then having to cut a spare piece of like eighth inch thick piece that I had cut off that was a trash piece, and then cutting the notch in it to use as a pusher so that I could push behind the blade to get those 1/4 inch pieces. So it's been interesting. I'm working on. I've got thoughts and plans in my head to make a jig for datoing. I haven't worked it all out yet. I haven't researched anything. I just want to see what my head can come up with. Unless, of course, people want to buy the things that I'm making, then it will be 100% research because I want this shit to look good. And then once I have made like 4 or 5 of these things and I'm confident in it, then I will start messing around with laminating different woods together. And once I am confident with that and happy with the boxes, with the things that I make out of that stuff, then I'll go ahead and venture out and actually spend money on pretty hardwoods.
Actually, right now it is cheaper to buy hardwood than pine.
And I'm running, but I'm talking like bird's eye maple and fucking walnut and shit like that. I want to make something out of fucking walnut. The walnut is just fucking gorgeous.
You can buy a 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch oak plywood cheaper than you can buy 3/4 inch pine sheathing.
Yeah, it's the more expensive products and plywoods and lumber haven't had as big of a jump up as any of the pine stuff right now.
Yeah, because pine is construction material.
Yep, but
so
the guy that owns the sawmill that I've gone to before, I bought. I spent $100 and I got over $400 worth of cherry and cypress because he gave me cypress for free, or not.
Nice.
Sorry, cedar, not cypress, cedar.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this is what's weird for me. I have more hardwood in my shed right now than plywood or pine. And if you had told me this like 4 years ago, maybe even if you told me this 2 years ago, I never would have believed you because I hadn't really started working with hardwood until just before the first Extra Life we did.
Mm-hmm.
But I make pretty decent dice trays, so
you make them. Yeah, you make awesome fucking dice trays. Stop fucking lying, because that purple heart and beach that I have is my dice box, and no one touches my dice box because that is my dice box that Hewitt made for me, and it is Saints Row Purple.
Talking about Purple Heart right now, there's a lot of there's been actually a shortage on that because apparently wherever it's more plentiful in the U.S. or wherever it grows, they pretty much laid off all their woodcutters and the mill folks. So Purple Heart, the price hasn't jumped up. It's just that until
you can't
really buy it because the supply is so low.
Yeah, that it don't make no sense to up the price. You can't up the price on something you ain't got to sell.
Like Wormwood is cutting Purple Heart from their menu until it's more accessible.
Yeah. And there's something else that I want to look up. There's some really cool D&D accessories, like spell trackers, a little 4x4, essentially 4x4 wooden cards, with a D6 size hole recessed into it. That you just put a D6 in, and you use that to count down spell slots and shit, as well as like for paladins doing your channel divinities and stuff like that.
I've seen the guy that does paladin woodwork. That's up like in Boston or Maine somewhere. He's made spell trackers that have wooden dials in them that are held on by a rare earth magnet, like the little round versions of them, the magnetic ball bearings.
Mm-hmm.
And then has another piece of hardwood so that you get that click as it goes through and you turn it.
Nice.
But he also does a lot of laser engraving, which is something one day I hope to get into.
I have the capability to do it. I have the capability to do it for like $50. Like it's literally, there is a $50 laser engraving module that I can put on my 3D printer, re-level it, and it can engrave.
See, my problem was that before I realized I had to buy a house, I actually had enough money to buy a 4x4 laser CNC for woodworking.
Yeah.
That was, if I had bought that, I would have already made something crazy with it.
Oh, absolutely. Like I have one of the games I have is the Arkham Horror card game, and there's just a metric shit ton of cards in that game. And Mish found me a custom box. It came out of Russia. It was a custom box, and it's all laser CNC cut, and you just put it together, and you piece it together, glue it, and it's done. It's gorgeous. It's MTF, but it's freaking gorgeous. Which reminds me that I also need to see about. It's also another box that I need to see about making for Disney Villainous, because they just came out with another expansion, and the box that I currently have it in, it won't fit another expansion.
See, we're about to hit the 1 hour mark, guys. Is there let's see, has there been anything that you've really been watching recently, YouTube or anything else that you would highly recommend that anybody watch? Start with Canon.
Not off the top of my head. I've been watching Worth Effort and one called Trenton Alley, a couple building a house, and one called Modern Homesteader.
Let's see, are Trenton Alley the ones that are building their own A-frame, or is that a different channel?
No, that's Wild Wonderful Off Grid.
I've watched a few videos like that, and Emily is now worried that since we bought a house, I'm going to try to build a tiny house in the backyard or build a tiny house elsewhere.
I mean, okay. I've been watching a lot of the same old stuff. If you're interested in Minecraft multiplayer let's plays, the Hermitcraft just started season 8. And there's a whole bunch of really goofy shenanigans from some of the best Minecraft players on the internet. That just started recently, so I think every member of the Hermitcraft server is currently on their episode 3. So if you've ever had an inclination to kind of want to see what some of the Minecraft YouTuber stuff is, you go through and follow. There's a bunch of different people from a bunch of different walks of life. And they all have their own specialty. Doc M77 and Etho are both Redstone geniuses. B00 is really coming into his own as a Gothic style builder. Good Times with Scar is amazing at building in general, as well as natural building, like terraforming and landscaping, things of that nature. And then, honestly, if anybody's interested in watching any of the homesteaders, like the homesteading stuff that we talk about a lot, My Self-Reliance, you can go back last year, and the starting last year is everything from the like middle of last year, I want to say is when he started on the new homestead build. So he moved out further away from people up there in Ontario, I think he's in Ontario, and he is building a house. It's really interesting having watched him for a while. I know Hewitt for sure has watched Sean's builds for years as well. But it's really interesting watching Sean James go from, I am out here at this cabin that I have built literally with hand tools. I have cut everything with an axe, and the only power tool that I have used is a chainsaw and a mill to cut long flat boards, to watching him use power tools to assemble a modern geodome greenhouse, and watching him use water pumps to move water from the creek up to his holding tanks and stuff like that, because the first cabin he built was a pet and a passion project that he was doing because it's something that he always wanted to do. And then he decided, through YouTube and becoming debt free, he was able to do YouTube full time, and decided to move out to the cabin and live there full time. Eventually, his wife joined him for all of about, a month and a half, because she moved out there in January 2020. And then cousin Ronnie came to visit, and then she left to go and help their daughters. And then a bunch of other bullshit happened that he decided that he was going to move further into the woods, essentially, on another piece of property. And he started by building a workshop that he is currently living in. And he has moved on to a little bit more modern tools for this. for this cabin build because, well, I am living. This is where I'm going to live. So so there's going to be a slight departure from that for some of these things, like like this geodome. He had like 4 guys come out there and help him. They were all using power tools, and they got it done in like 2 weeks. So if anybody's interested in seeing some of the other stuff that we talk about, it's a pretty good time to get into it. There's quite a few things like that are just kind of getting into either new seasons or new evolutions of what they are, which is a good place to jump on.
See, with me, the big thing like I said, the big thing I'm going to recommend is if anybody's got Amazon Prime, watch Jeremy Clarkson's Farm. It's 8 episodes, and it's him running the farm that he owns for 1 year and learning how absolutely brutal and how serious farm work is. Because at first he literally thought he'd be able to walk in and just do it, but just farming government regulations of farming in the British Isles, and farming during COVID. So that was a good watch. The other thing is I'm going to recommend Eating History. It's a guy who used to work for Disney. Excuse me, and he cooks old recipes from like the Middle Ages to ancient Rome, and then actually eats them to tell you what it tastes like. And it's been interesting because he did this as fun first because he was furloughed from Disney because of the lockdowns, but he's made it his full-time job now, and it's really cool. And also seeing this guy who has definitely never had to butcher certain things have to cook a whole suckling pig, or he made the cockatrice dish, which is the front half of a suckling pig and the back half of a cockerel, which is apparently a very large chicken. And him just talking about the process of what he had to do, and you can see it's like, okay, I shouldn't be laughing at you because I'd probably be like, I don't want to touch some of this, but that's definitely interesting. And the other one is I might have said this last month, the Hoof GP. He's a guy in Glasgow in southern Scotland that goes around trimming cow hooves. And what'd you say?
Yeah, that comes across. That's that kind of stuff comes across my Facebook feed, like farriers and extreme hoof shaving things will come across my Facebook. That shit is fascinating.
Yeah, it's like Emily thinks it's completely gross because, well, it is a little bit. Because, I mean, a lot of times you're basically looking at what is infected fingernails. Like, just what they have to do to keep a cow alive, and there's one cow that's hoof literally sloughed off when he was trying to clean it up. So I got to see what a naked cow's foot looked like, and it was weird. It's 100% what you think it would look like. It's just that you don't expect to see it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like all of a sudden there's something unusual there. It's 100% like, okay, the cow's hoof is shaped like this. Its foot's shaped like this. It's just that it's kind of like whenever you've lost a fingernail. You know, well, that looks exactly like I thought it would. I just really wish I didn't have to see it.
Yeah, it 100% looks exactly like I thought it was gonna look, but I really wish that I was still in the realm of how I thought it looked instead of knowing for sure.
So that's really what I've been watching, and like, also I could always recommend Loki because Emily's like poked her head in like to make sure I'm done soon so we can go watch it.
We finished it. We watched it before we did this.
So, yeah, that's the last thing I'm going to do tonight before going to sleep, and then going over to the house until about 5 o'clock tomorrow. I should be able to get everything painted and get started in the bathroom now that I got the right thickness of drywall. But
Godspeed to you, my friends.
Yeah. But if Nox, you'd like to sign us off?
We appreciate y'all coming and sitting around the table, come visit with us a little bit, talk some stories, and just shoot a fat. Keep an eye on the socials to find out when we do other stuff, or just follow and look for the notification, because sometimes we do some random stuff, and sometimes Hewitt decides he wants to play Final Fantasy IV. But until next time, folks, don't let your meatloaf.